Hello, everyone, and good afternoon or evening, wherever you are. I want to first of all start by thanking you for showing up. It's certainly a positive step. Um, my name is Nelson Garissa. I'm originally from Kenya, based out of Dubai. I'm a chapter engagement specialist working for PMI. And today we have yet another session of PMP review. Where we'll go through the topic today, and we are tackling stakeholders, business value, and communication today. For those that this is your first time attending such sessions, we encourage you to be active on the chat. And as usual, today we will start by just mentioning where you're from. In the chat, just mention the country that you're joining, the country name where you're joining us from. Yeah, and also if you can just post the date where you're sitting for your PMP exam as well. Let's connect as much as possible. Yeah, so we'll give you a few seconds to do that. Yeah, so just post your country where you're from as well. Yeah, let's see. There's even some that are already certified and they're here. That's really good. Encourage those that are still on the journey. So yeah, someone saying, Rehema, your exam is tomorrow. All the best. You need to get enough rest as well. And I know Jumoke will talk a bit about this as well. For those that haven't scheduled their exam, please go ahead and schedule for your exam. It is super important. It is better to work with a date in mind, and then work backwards and then have a schedule as well. Yeah. Those from Ghana, Nigeria, welcome South Africa. Yeah, keep posting on the chat in the next 1 minute. See, we have many people, so still expecting more to share where they're from. Yes, Bankole, go ahead and schedule for the exam. Okay, welcome, Nicholas. All right, Kunle, it was London. Okay, all right, keep posting. So today's speaker instructor is someone that I know very well. You probably know her very well as well, because this is her third time actually coming here today, and I just want to thank her again. She's gonna take us through the the topics today, and she has many titles, but what I know about her is that she's a volunteer. She's a very strong voice in terms of project management. If you want someone who puts project management forward and just wants that delivery to be there, that's the much I know about Chimoke. She is a certified instructor, an ATP, authorized training partner with PMI. That means she's well and trained and to be able to take us through this. As well, she is PMP certified. She has been for quite several years actually, and we're going to hear from her today. Feel free to post any questions on the chat. We will have a dedicated time where you will lift your hand, where you'll be able to ask questions directly to her. She believes she has prepared a few test questions which we will go through later on, and we will increase the engagement where if you want to clarify, if the answer is not clear to you, you'll be able to have that chance. But yeah, I want to pass it on to Jumoke so that we can proceed. Welcome, Jumoke.
Thank you, Nelson. Good evening. It's 5:05 here in Ghana, and I must say, A big thank you to the PMI Sub-Saharan African team for organizing this. And I think since I volunteered to be an instructor here to support, have been particular about getting people from Ghana chapter to be part, especially those who have applied, for the exam, because this is a confidence booster that you may not know that you needed. And if you are here, I want to first congratulate you that you have taken a very, very good decision to write the PMP exam. I think for me, career-wise, my life changed after I wrote PMP. I was an accidental candidate, and I'm forever grateful to the person that saw me and felt with what I do, I needed to be part of PMI, and as well as writing the PMP. I made few mistakes when I was preparing for my PMP. I made a lot of assumptions. I was overconfident because I was a trained engineer. I mean, I've never failed any exam, but I can assure you that PMP can humble you, no matter how smart you are, if you do not go by what's the standard. Let me put it that way. They are tested principles and processes, and that is why we have something like the PIM book as a guide for us practitioners. So you are in a good place. And of course, this does not replace your studying. And then one of the things Nelson also mentioned is you scheduling your exam. There is no motivator that you need than you scheduling your exam, because it will propel you to study and then you have something you are working towards. If you are here and your validity period, for instance, is you have, let's say, 8 months left, don't wait until the 8th month or the 7th month before you schedule the exam. We all pray to pass at first sitting, but as project practitioners, you should also give room for risk, for plan B. So schedule your exam. Don't wait too long to schedule, because while you hit the iron whilst it is hot. So I'm encouraging you today to schedule your exam, form study group. Luckily, you have this group. You ask questions. Don't be shy to ask questions. I've never been shy of asking questions, because if I knew, I would not be in class. So if I paid for something and you have paid to go for training, the opportunity cost of other things you're supposed to be doing is you being here. So as matured professionals, responsible individuals, you know, I encourage you to please take the next step. And I'm very passionate about this because I feel this is my contribution to how things are done in Africa. We should move from just talking to actually practicing, being the change that we want to see. So, can you imagine if all of you in the WhatsApp group that have been created, you earn your PMP certification, and we are all using it to manage projects? Can you imagine the amount of waste that will be cut when it comes to cost overrun, time overrun? Can you imagine the number of confident individuals that will be talking, contributing to the organizational growth, national growth, because of the boost PMP gives you? So that is a way of opening. And the last but not the least is sleep, rest. The body has a way of shutting down, and I've written few certifications. I know that on the day of exam, I don't study. I sleep well, and nights before exam, I don't pick the 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. because I don't want to rush to wake up and be avoiding traffic. I want to take my time, wake up, take some tea, drive leisurely without pressure. And as I'm driving, of course, I have some knows that I've scribbled with me in the car. When I get to a traffic light, I pick it, I looked at it. I get to the exam center 2 hours before my scheduled time. Like, relax. And I also tell my students there is no PMI exam I wrote that I felt so confident that I've read everything, I know everything. But the confidence I have before I write exam is I have put in the work. I have put in the work, and I believe that I will be rewarded. And of course, if you're a believer, you add prayer to it. So I congratulate you for joining. For the person writing exam tomorrow, I can assure you that if you've put in your work and you pay attention today, it will make a difference tomorrow. I saw someone writing from Rwanda on 15th August. I hope I will see you at the conference and celebrate with you too by God's grace. So the topic, I will try not to explain too much during my presentation today so that we can have enough time. I have 9 questions at the end of the session, and then listen to you for you to ask me questions or areas that you want me to explain more. You can also rant. Sometimes it's good to just express how you feel. You will feel lighter. Okay. I may not be able to provide solution, but then you'll feel lighter. But before I also start, let me assure you that I failed when I wrote my first exam. And if I failed and now I passed and I've mastered project my PMP, there's no excuse for you not to pass your PMP. Okay. So if you have failed, I'm sorry. I know how frustrating that could be. But I can assure you that with some work and adjusting how you process the question, understanding the perspective, the scenarios, some concept, relaxing, understanding the questions before you answer, success will be yours. Okay? So let's roll. Today's topic is very interesting. It is us driving project success through stakeholder collaboration. You need to know who your stakeholders are for you to collaborate with them. And then urgent execution. Why do you need to execute urgently and effective communication? By now, you know that as project managers, what you do is over 80% communication. And so, yeah, and these are the 3 items on the agenda. The first one is collaborate with stakeholders. The second is execute projects with urgency required to deliver business value. And then the third is manage communication. So in today's dynamic project environment, delivering value fast and maintaining alignment with stakeholders are critical. Please forgive me, I have inflamed tonsil, so I'm taking my time to talk today. So it's important because people that are investing money into projects, they want results. They don't want excuses. It rained yesterday, there was a power outage, my car did this. So how do you ensure that you deliver value? As you are preparing for the exam, be looking at yourself as PMI sees you, that you are a professional, you are an ethical person, you know what you're about. Okay, so you are coming from a angle of knowing. So for you to collaborate with your stakeholders, how would you do that? Okay, and this QR code is, if you scan it, it will lead to you chatting with me directly. Some of you have chatted and I have tried within my power to be able to support your journey towards achieving your PMP. If you haven't, you are always welcome to do that. So our first subtopic today is collaborate with stakeholders. Like I said, you need to know your stakeholders to know how to collaborate with them. And it's very essential for you to collaborate well with your stakeholders, for you to achieve your project success. If you don't identify the right stakeholders, how would you even be able to define or plan scope? because you need your stakeholders to be able to do that. And so when you identify your stakeholders, you will be able to come up with a stakeholder register. And in this stakeholder register, you have the stakeholder 1, 2, 3. You meet with your team members, you analyze the stakeholders, and then you prioritize them. You'll be able to come up with the key stakeholders, then you'll be able to come up with their communication requirements and what frequency. That is what you do. So for you to be able to collaborate well with your stakeholders, you need to be able to evaluate and understand their needs. Now, understanding their needs is not enough. You need to be able to align the needs of your stakeholders to their project objectives. If you are not careful, by the time they tell you their needs, through your eliciting of requirements, the acceptance criteria will not match the scope in the charter. So you need to be able to align. And that is why when you define scope, you will have in scope and out scope. The in scope are the items or the requirement the project is going to deliver. And out of scope is what the project will not deliver. So a good scope definition would tell you both. All right. So you need to evaluate their needs and then align the needs to the project objectives, because that is the essence of the projects anyway. And then build trust and influence stakeholders throughout the project lifecycle. Building trust has to do with you being transparent and you giving information promptly. If you are transparent, trustworthy, even when things are wrong and you're able to give updates on time, stakeholders will not unnecessarily get angry or be flattered, because they will know exactly what is going on. So we need to break these 3 points down, and this is what we'll be doing in the subsequent slides. When we say evaluate stakeholder needs, what are we talking about? Like I said, you identify your stakeholders, and you can do that through brainstorming, expert judgment, through previous uh, project, like lessons learned from your repository, you know, Delphi technique. You can do that, and you must be mindful that your stakeholders are both internal and external. Internal is inclusive of the team, your project team members, and then within your organizations, your projects, other project managers, um, contractors or vendors, So you need, as that vendors is when you would have to procure outside the organization. So you need to know that. And now that you have identified your stakeholders, you would assess their influence, their interest, and impact. I hope you still remember this power interest grid. Please know it, remember. And the silence model is a form of that enables you to be able to categorize your stakeholders based on their power. When we say power, we mean their influence, legitimacy. When we say legitimacy, it refers to the authority, the degree of authority that your stakeholder would have on the project objectives. And then when we say urgency, we mean the level to which the stakeholder needs updates or response from you. These are the 3 components of um, the salience model. Okay. I think I have image somewhere to express that or to remind you, because I know you know it already. So the tools that you need for you to be able to identify your stakeholders, assess their influence, their interest and impact. As one, stakeholder register. You remember how to get that done. And the stakeholder register is a living document. You don't say, now, at the beginning of the project, especially if it's predictive, we've identified our stakeholders and that's it. No, you periodically, you need to be checking the stakeholder you said is key. As anything change and it's no longer key and all that, and the power grid. And this, I just threw in this image to remind you how the power influence grid looks like, and how you assess your stakeholders and put them in corresponding quadrants, and then how you manage them. Okay. And then the salience model. We all did math, so I'm sure you remember Venn diagram. If you have a stakeholder that you assessed has power, legitimacy, urgency, and it falls in this uh, space where you have 7, this is your key stakeholder that you must pay attention to, more than other stakeholders, maybe the dangerous one, the dominant one, the dependent one, or the non-stakeholders. This will also help you to know people that are not within your stakeholders. So this is just to nudge you if you have forgotten. So we are still talking about collaborating with stakeholders. And we said that you will identify, then you will evaluate their needs. Once you have their needs, you need to know how to align their needs to the organization's expectations. And you would use scope statement to be able to do that. You can also use user stories because it's from user stories. Scope statement is to predictive, while user stories is to adaptive. I hope you remember that. And the user stories is where the customer tells, expresses what he or she wants from the development team. The product owner picks it and gives it to the development, the prioritized product backlog, and then the development team picks it and then they work on what the velocity allows them within their iteration period that is dependent on the number of story points they can accomplish without that same iteration or scrum if it is, or sprint if it is scrum. Now, be mindful of things that goes on that you cannot add work on, on a sprint that is ongoing. But any user stories that comes up whilst the development team is working can be added to the product backlog. And then when the development team is done, they present it to the product owner presents it to the customer picks it again and gives feedback. And if it warrants it, it's added to the product backlog and subsequently reprioritized before the team picks what they are going to work on. And then they also come up with the iteration backlog. Also remember that iteration backlog is the work to accomplish the user stories picked from the prioritized product backlog. Yeah, so I just threw this in to remind us what scope statement is. It defines the boundaries, the deliverables, and the project objectives, what they are going to deliver. Whilst you're optimizing alignment, you also need to manage scope creep through change control. Anytime you read a question and you come across change control or change control process or change control board, is an automatic predictive life cycle or hybrid. Hybrid because of the combination of predictive and hybrid. It's important that whilst you're optimizing the needs of your stakeholder, you are ensuring that the scope remains as it is. So that is why. And there are tools that you can use to prevent scope creep. When you collect your requirements, we call it requirement traceability matrix. I hope you also remember that. Okay. So you constantly align the engagement strategy with project goals and benefits all through the life cycle. It's not an ending one, it's a continuous cycle. So be mindful when you are reading question that you are an adaptive project manager. You don't settle, and the goal for you is to deliver value to your customer or your stakeholders. That should be driving you. The first subtopic under us collaborating with our stakeholders is that you build trust and influence. And I said earlier that building trust is dependent on transparency. There is no way you build trust without transparency. And as a project leader or a project manager, I hope you know there's a difference between a project manager and a project leader. A project leader is strategic in thinking. It's not just managing projects and ends there. You are, I mean, thinking before and after the project, how it aligns to the strategic positioning of your organization. So, as a leader, you must be willing to be vulnerable. Actually, vulnerable, as I tell my students, is from a place of strength. You must be confident in yourself to be vulnerable and say, oh, this I got it wrong. It's a level of transparency. So show transparency and consistency in your action. If you see any question that shows that the project manager is not being consistent, you say A today, you do B tomorrow, there is no way you can build trust among your team. You see, the PMP is actually a way of life. Once you understand that, it helps you check yourself. I mean, pick what you don't have, correct the areas that you need to work on. So it makes the exam easy for you. So it's not like chill and pour. Okay. And then deliver on commitments. When you are a leader, you are looking at you walking the talk. So the same way when you are reading your question, be looking at options, that is towards you delivering on what you are committed to. However, it doesn't mean because you said this is what we are going to do, we are not going to change what can may. No. But your commitment is equal to the value that the stakeholder wants or the customer wants on the project. And this I see every day among people. If you are giving reports, especially on WhatsApp, and your blue tick is still on, please acknowledge your uh, customer, your stakeholders' concern quickly. Acknowledging does not mean you are solving the problem. Acknowledging means, oh, Jumoke, thank you. I just saw this. I will work on it and get back to you. It is better than, of course, when I say I'll work on it and get back to you, I don't have answer. But it gives some assurance to the stakeholders or the customer that, oh, Jumoke has seen it and she's working on it. So work on that and acknowledging and addressing concerns quickly. Quickly doesn't mean like right now, okay, and you finding solution, but at least acknowledge that you have seen it and you are working on it. And use active listening and emotional intelligence. These are the power skills that you have. And the more you work on this, the better you become, the better project manager you become, and a better individual you become to yourself and the people around you. Because it will force you to identify your areas of weaknesses and you working on them. And that makes you better. Emotional intelligence, if you did this training with ATP, you know that there are components and it starts with you. Self-awareness, and then you manage yourself before you become aware of someone else. So it's like that scripture that says that you should first remove the the specks in the log in your eye before you remove the speck in someone else's eye. So you first treat yourself. So active listening is when you listen to understand what someone is saying, not because you want to respond and you stop listening, just waiting for your stakeholder to stop, then boom, you know. So these are areas that you actually need to develop yourself on as a project manager. And all what I have spoken about, you start early in the project. Don't wait, maybe when you are monitoring. If you are monitoring and evaluating what you are doing or controlling what you are doing, start from planning. Because if you are not monitoring your plan, there will be a lot of scope creep. In fact, you will not be aware that there's scope creep. So you start early and you engage your stakeholders too often. Don't assume that you know what your stakeholders want, and then you constantly maintain alignment with the project's objectives against the organization goal. Summary of all what I've said: know your stakeholders and know the types that you have: sponsor, customer, team, regulators, their needs will never be the same. So you need to know. It will help in analyzing and categorizing your stakeholders. And the second one is understand tools like stakeholder engagement plan, communication management plan, power, impact, grid, the salience model, and all that. And then look for keywords when you are reading your questions. Early engagement, continuous communication, manage expectations. In the previous sessions, I said that, please, I hope I'm audible. Nelson, please, can you confirm if I'm audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So in earlier sessions, I think I mentioned that sometimes when you read the questions, you have no idea. If they give you 24 hours to start be on that question, you don't know what it is. But what you need to do is to remember that PMI advocates win-win situation. PMI advocates ethical behavior. PMI advocates valid delivery to the customer. PMP advocates early value delivery to the customer. So you look at the options and look at the options that speaks to some of these principles or the aligning orientation of PMI to pick the answer. It is better to do that than to leave it blank. Okay. So when you are reading questions, look for keywords or phrases like this, to help you determine what the answers can be. Choose answers that focus on proactive communication and collaboration. Collaboration, proactiveness, look for them if you don't know the answers. Now, often you hear people say, even in the questions, there are two options that are correct. Anytime I hear my students say that, I laugh in my head. I don't laugh out so that they don't get offended. But it always reminds me of when I failed PMP because that was how I felt. That how can these people put two options in one question? When you do that, it's as a result of you have not mastered certain things. It's like if you are dating, you know the Nigerians will say mumu button of your partner. You need to study the PMP to understand the mumu buttons of the examiner, whoever they are. But the funniest thing is, PMPs like you know set the questions, so you can't get angry at PMI, as the culprit, So just look for things that speaks to what PMI believes. They believe in proactive communication and action. They believe in collaboration. They believe in a win-win situation. They believe in value delivery to your customer. They believe in you being understanding, servant leader to your team members. Okay, so you're not just throwing your power around with your team members. So you look for options that speaks to those things, okay, when you are answering your questions. So with that, we finished the first topic. I wish I can record myself. I don't remember the last time I've been communicating this quietly. I think, but it's a nice way anyway. And I'm happy you can hear me. The second topic today is execute projects with urgency to deliver business value. If you have this mentality, it is the same mentality that says the bus must keep moving. You will never get angry at senior management that this thing is that, and still they want us to do this because they need to give result to the customer. So in executing your project, you do it with urgency. Urgency doesn't mean you should not plan and be creating chaos. No, that's not what we mean. But be mindful that early valid delivery to your stakeholders is key, and that would help you to plan and deliver. So why is executing projects with urgency to deliver business value relevant? Why is it important? It's because delivering value quickly is a key project goal. In fact, in adaptive or agile to be precise, you measure your success by how early and continuously you deliver value to your stakeholders, to your customers. So it's important that you understand that you need to deliver value early, incrementally, and continuously. Okay. So you need to find opportunities to enable you do that continuously and incrementally. And then you look through the business value throughout the project to be able to do that. Just as we did for the first topic, collaborating with stakeholder, we will look at each point, and briefly, of course. So one, assess opportunities to deliver value incrementally. How would you do that? You break deliverables into small usable parts, because incremental value delivery means you are not waiting until you get everything before you start delivering. And that's where rolling wave, planning incrementally comes in. And then you prioritize based on customer value. Remember your Moscow, Kano, paired, you know, you know, these are the ways that you'll be able to deliver based on what the customer wants. The customer wants everything that you came up with from you collecting your requirements. But the order is like, if I'm hungry and I want to take my bath and I prioritize eating first, don't be selling, go and take your bath first to me. You should prioritize giving me food to eat before I take my bath. I had an uncle of blessed memory that says that if he's hungry and he has not taken his bath, he will eat before taking his bath, because if he dies, they can bath his body, but they can't give him food to eat. So the out of the requirements that the stakeholders have elicited for you, you need to work with them to prioritize it, to be able to deliver value and deliver it urgently, and in a continuous incremental manner. So don't forget, I think earlier, previous, we looked at prioritization, and then deliver early and often to get feedback. If you are working on predictive, that you deliver value or milestones, and then you schedule meetings for feedback, don't take it for granted. Because if you do, it may affect your validation of deliverables at the end. Because if it's not validated, you will not, they will not accept it. And I also pointed out that there is difference between verifying deliverables and validating deliverables. Verifying is before the deliverable is worked on, it's during scope. Validating deliverables is after the work is done and is based on acceptance criteria. So if you involve your stakeholders in giving feedback often, the probability of validating your deliverables or scope is higher. Okay. Then also, you need to understand the principles behind MVP, minimum viable product, which we can liken to prototype. It helps in validating um, your understanding of what the customer wants you to deliver, because then they can see whether you understood what they want, and then they can give you feedback, because before you now get into delivering en masse. Okay. To examine business value throughout the project. I think we have said this already. Don't just assume that you did it at the beginning of the project and it can take you through. So in reassessing business value, you can do that through reviews, through retrospectives. The essence of retrospectives, or one of the reasons for retrospectives, is to be able to improve future processes. all right, because you get to know what went well and what didn't go well. What went well so that you can replicate it. What didn't go well, you understand why it didn't go well. If there is a way to salvage it, good. If there's no way to salvage it, you don't repeat, right? And then you validate that outputs align with benefits. This is why you are examining business value throughout the project. You are checking all through the project that, okay, the value that we are delivering aligns with the expected business case. You know, you have business documents and you have project documents. Business documents usually are developed by the business analyst, and these are pre-projects. However, when you come on board as a project manager, the business document would serve as inputs into some of the documents that you will deliver. So the value that the project will deliver would actually be in the business case. And it makes sense. It's the business case that is used to justify that this project is needed. And that's when management says, oh, okay, what are the benefits? Oh, okay, all right. Then we will execute this project. We need a project manager. Then we come up with a, maybe at that point you are brought on board, we come up with a project charter. You made input into it. Of course, you cannot sign a project charter. Someone superior to you will sign the project charter. But then the business case will serve as input. Even when you are finally planning the scope and everything, you will still be referring to the business case, but it is not your document. It's just serving as input. It's very, very important you know the documents that you create as a project manager and the one that is done by the business analyst. And of course, you monitor the KPIs and adapt scope based on feedback. Your adapting scope means the feedback you are getting probably could lead to change request, and if the change is approved, you have to update corresponding documents, and then you engage stakeholders in defining, refining value. I said the stakeholders register, stakeholder management plan, communication management plan. They are living documents that you continue to refine, as you go along the project until you end your project. And of course, I said that you need to understand MVP, minimum viable product, where you encourage your team to decompose work into usable increments for a form of prototype to deliver to the customer to encourage feedback from the customer. And how would you be able to do that? You can use techniques like user stories and backlog grooming. Backlog grooming is dependent on the customer with the product owner, but it's partly dependent on the output of your iteration or your sprint. Okay, and usually when customer comes up with their user stories, it's because they believe it will give them competitive advantage. And so you must listen to them to be able to refine the work that you are going to deliver. And then deliver functional outputs that demonstrate progress, because the minimum viable product as a prototype is depicting what the larger product would deliver anyways, and ensure that your prototype meets essential needs without overbuilding. Because if you overbuild and it doesn't meet the essential needs, it will be waste. Okay, so just the minimum. This M is crucial. That's why it's there. Don't be like some people that when you give them time and you put maybe GMT, TUC, they forget or they conveniently ignore that and they just use their country time. My Nigerians on the call, I have this challenge with Nigerians often. When you say 5 p.m. GMT, they will join 5 p.m. their time, which is 4 p.m. my time in Ghana. So this M here is very, very important. Please, Nigerians on the call, if you look at my name, I'm Jumoke. I'm one of you. Don't crucify me because of this exam. So this M is very crucial. Minimum viable product is barest minimum. However, it must meet the essential needs or requirement that the stakeholder, because that's the only time it can make meaning for them to give meaningful feedback. Summary of what I have said these past few minutes is that you should understand your minimum viable product. You should understand iterative delivery. Iterative is repetitive planning and delivering, then you plan again, you deliver. Incremental value, the value you are delivering is increasing. So at the end of the first phase, you deliver 20%. The second phase, you deliver another 20%. It makes it 40%. The next, you deliver another 20, like that. Then look for options that reduce waste and accelerate benefits. Don't get don't get carried away and give cheeky answers, because you will find cheeky possible answers in the options. PMI can be that funny. So you look for options that will lead to reduction of waste and accelerate benefits. That is value creation for your customer or stakeholders. Also, favor proactive actions. Escalate only when you have taken proactive action. Okay, as I don't want to use the word last resort, but you should have done, unless it is specified that it is out of your power, in terms of cost, time, and before you escalate. And also look for options that empower your team members and validate with users. So, like, this is corroborating what I said earlier, that you need to understand PMI and PMP, that is a value creation certification or professional addition to you, that expects you to be ethical, to look for win-win situation, to look for how you collaborate with your stakeholders, to look at how you listen to them, and also how you create value, how feedback, So these are the things you should be looking out for when you are reading your questions. And also, agile and hybrid are preferred when uncertainty or fast feedback is key. You cannot use predictive when you have read the question and it's saying maybe there is high uncertainty. Uncertainty is risk, because we say risk is a futuristic event that you cannot predict the outcome. The outcome could be positive or negative. If it is positive, there are opportunities. If it is negative, then there are threats. And risk management is you working at reducing the likelihood of this negative occurrence and increasing, it's not all, and increasing the likelihood of the positive occurrence, because there are opportunities. Okay. And the last topic for us is manage communication. I mean, if you are able to work on yourself and on this managed communication, you start hearing things differently. People can talk for, say, 5 minutes, and you are wondering, what did they say? So you just join the group that says you have not said anything. The person has gone round, but has not said anything. And it also helps you to manage when you are talking. You are listening to yourself and interpreting, trying to understand what you are saying. So it helps you in choosing your words, your actions, your gestures, when you are communicating. So you need to manage your communications. And for you to manage your communications, because you want to communicate effectively, and it's the cornerstone of project success. So you need to be able to do this. And if you're able to do this, it will help you to be able to analyze your stakeholder communication needs. Usually people will tell you, my leadership style is this, good. So that becomes your default leadership style. But you also need to learn and master the other leadership style, because it's dynamic. Your leadership style is dependent on the type of people you are leading, your team members, their experience, their skills, your stakeholders, the nature of the project, the nature of the um, deliverables, it depends. So you need to master the other leadership style in addition to your default leadership style. Okay, so effective communication will help you to be able to, for you to have effective communication, you should be able to understand the needs, the communication needs of your stakeholders, determine communication methods and frequency. By now, this what I'm doing is just reminder you've already done this. If you have not, if you forgot to revise this, please pick it up. Deliver accurate and timely information. Sometimes you have information, but you don't deliver it on time, then it's no longer relevant. Accurate means you have done some due diligence. You don't just, based on assumption, boom, you create panic. You need to investigate and ensure that the information you are releasing is actually the actual information. Now, we are going to look at these 3 points briefly. After this, we go into some of the questions I call practice questions. And after that, I will attend to the questions that you may also have. When you analyze your stakeholder, you need to use your stakeholder register because you have the list there, all right? And then come up with how you are going to engage them, okay? And you do this by their role, their influence, and their needs. So if you have the sponsor, if you have the vendor, if you have your team members, their needs are different, and the influence they will have on your projects would also be different. Consider language, location, time zones, and technical expertise when you are analyzing your stakeholders. Just even within your country, your ethnic um, groupings, if you have worked outside your ethnic group, you will realize that you need to be culturally aware. You need to be politically sensitive when you are working with people from different uh, ethnic groups. How much more when you are working with people that are not from your country? So you need to be sensitive and not be fixated that this is how I do my thing and this is how you better. Is either you are align or you are not going to go far as a project leader. So you need to consider this, okay, when it comes to communication. Some people come to Ghana and they get offended because they say Ghanaians say please too much. So I've become advocate in Ghana that hey, don't when Nigerians talk the way they talk, it's not about you. That's how they talk. It's not, but I've also now moved to Nigerians that look, when you come to Ghana, observe how the people are. You may not align 100%, but let them know that you are putting in effort, you understand their orientation. So you just have to be mindful of that. And then customize communications based on interest and power/influence. If the key stakeholders don't need story, I tell my students, learn how to present your updates on a pager. One PowerPoint page is enough to tell you the plan and the actual and the challenges. It's enough. That's what they need. So when you want to determine how you will communicate with your stakeholders, this would influence that, okay, and then the frequency as well. Determine how you are going to manage and communicate to your stakeholders. Is it push? Is it pull? I hope you know this. Is it interactive? Would you always have time for meetings? And that's where Delphi techniques uh, becomes useful because sometimes you may not be able to bring all the stakeholders. They are busy folks. They don't have time, to bring them together and say you are holding meeting. Just become the moderator and facilitate this Delphi technique to get your information, and then you can move. All right. If it is push, you determine the communication. If I pick my phone and I call you right now, I determine that I want to have a conversation with you. That is push. If it is pull, it is there. Maybe on your internet or on a repository. It is you that will determine when you are going to pull that the information that you require. But I've also realized that most of us don't do well with pull, especially when we have our e-learning courses. And that is why I would say that I commend the PMI Africa team for this, to constantly give you this push to study, even though you have spent so much on the training and the exam as well. Define frequency based on urgency and engagement is, I think I've explained this. So yeah, if you are a key stakeholder, you need to be receiving updates quickly and document in communication management plan. This is the method that we will use. This is the channel that we will use. This is the frequency. And this is open to all your team members. Include escalation paths and reporting structure. At what point would I escalate to the program manager or to the senior management? And when it also comes to reporting, have it documented in your management plan, the communication management plan. If you have an organogram in your organization and you have picked people from functional groupings to form your project team, and you have picked people from different cadres, hey, please let the reporting structure you have, what is the word? Mirror what you have in your organization to avoid abuse. Okay. And then communicate effectively. Use clear, concise, and targeted messaging. Very clear. Don't make it ambiguous. Align content of whatever you are communicating with stakeholder preferences that you would have gotten when you identify your stakeholders and you created your stakeholder register and you engage them, and then leverage visual aids, reports, dashboards. This is where project management is going. Information radiators, where people can see what you are saying instead of just talking and wondering what you meant. Okay. Adjust level of detail, based on who you are having conversation with. If it is management and you are going to give maybe update on some strategy, you cannot now go and be saying, we went to, what's the market in Kigali that I'll be going next month? When they told us it is this. I mean, such detail is unnecessary for top management. So we need to adjust the level of detail when you are communicating. Otherwise, good information given in too much detail may become annoying or not well received, because that is not what is needed. This is one of the things we don't do as project managers. Let me change that. We don't do often, or we don't do well. So I've rephrased what I said earlier. Confirming that what we said was understood before we depart. So learn how to, after you've said whatever you want to say, ask the recipient, what is your understanding of what I just said? And that is that we have this in the training slides, where you the sender of the message, you encode, the receiver decodes, and then the receiver gives feedback based on understanding of what he or she has heard. But then you are mindful that there is noise between the sender and the receiver, because the noise could be how you understand things, which is dependent on your experience, your skills, your professional exposure, even your upbringing. So when you request for feedback, that what is the understanding of what I just said, it gives you the opportunity to actually confirm whether what you said was understood in that manner. So that is the two-way communication. You give, you communicate, and you take feedback to ascertain understanding. Ask clarifying questions, ask when you are communicating, so that whoever you are communicating with, can you give them opportunity to be able to clarify. All right, like I would give you opportunity to clarify some of the things that I might have said, or things that you need clarification you heard somewhere from, and then summarize responses. Okay, so can I paraphrase my understanding of all what you have said right now? A, you said this. B, you said that. Is that it? Is that it? Is me trying to clarify my summary of my understanding of what you said. So we need to practice this as project leaders. So you also need to use feedback tools. Often we don't allow people to give us feedback, surveys, retrospectives, one-on-ones. It should be a leader that can avail yourself and ask your team members, what do I do that you don't like? What do I do that you think I should do differently? As the project manager of this project, you are my stakeholders. What do you think I should do differently? Do you think I should communicate more frequently than I do? I mean, stuff like that. If your stakeholders are not many, you can do one-on-one. If there are a lot, then you use survey, and the instrument you will use there will be questionnaires. Okay, and then track stakeholder satisfaction and or engagement score. Don't wait until the end of the project. If it is predictive, it is easier for adaptive, because at the end of iteration, the customer will give you feedback that, Charlie, this thing that you did is not okay. So this Charlie that I said now is a Ghanaian thing that some people thought when each time we say Charlie is someone's name, but it's just, it's a slang. So forgive me. Yeah. So if you get feedback frequently, it will help you to measure your stakeholder satisfaction. But for adaptive, it's easier, because at the end of each iteration, the feedback, the customer gets the opportunity to give feedback. So I just decided to add these key practices for communication management. Tailor communication to stakeholder needs and expectations, not to you, not to your needs and expectations, or not based on your assumptions. Ensure your communication is clear, accurate, and relevant. Use active listening. Listen to understand, and then give room for feedback. Proactively manage noise. Be aware that we all have unaware biases. We all do, to even to the best people in the room here. So proactively manage noise, manage ambiguity and misinterpretation. Tips: look for clues like tailor, confirm understanding, interactive in options to questions, and then prioritize proactive two-way communication in any of the options. No, let me change that. In most of the options, because they have to be appropriate. Okay. Avoid one size fits all or passive strategies that, oh, this is it. For this, it has to be this, like the formula for quadratic equation, b squared is equal to this. No, that's not it. Avoid it. Be adaptive. Use stakeholder needs as a basis for communication planning. It is based on what your stakeholder wants that you communicate with them. On this note, I have finished with my slides, and it is time for practice questions. Nelson, can I go ahead?
Yeah, yes, please go ahead.
Okay. This is actually the areas I find very exciting, because then I get to see how you are thinking and probably hear your voices. So question 1, very, very simple. A key stakeholder is resistant to the project approach. What should a project manager do? A, escalate to the sponsor. B, update the stakeholder engagement plan. C, avoid involving the stakeholder, because as we say, you cannot come and kill yourself. D, communicate via status reports only. Please drop your answers in the chat box. Thank you.
So far we have A's and B's, but we have one D.
Okay. We have A's and B's. And we get one of them each to tell us why they chose A or B or D.
Yep. Just raise your hand, I will unmute you. Anyone with A or B as the answer? Okay, Farida, your mic is open. Farida, go ahead. You can unmute from here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Facilitator. To me, I think B is the correct answer. One, it's when the project, one of the stakeholders is resistant to the project approach. One is it is an issue. You find out why the person is resistant to the approach, and once you get a solution to that, you update the stakeholder engagement plan so that you can include this facilitator. And to me, that makes it the best answer.
Okay. All right. Can we hear someone else that selected A or D?
Maurice?
Thanks. But also similarly, mine was B. If I can elaborate, similar to the previous speaker, identify what is the bottleneck and then update the stakeholder engagement plan. I'd just like to add, you can also eliminate other responses, like escalate to the project sponsor. It goes against the project management techniques. Similarly, avoiding involving the stakeholder is the you need stakeholder engagement throughout the project. The last response, communicate via status reports only, goes against the communication plan, which we have to engage throughout the project. Thanks.
Thank you very much. To save time, if someone has already elaborated on the option you selected, please let someone else speak so that we can do so much this evening respectfully. So these hands that we are seeing, are they for A or C or D?
You can go ahead. I've unmuted you. I'm hoping
Thank you.
that okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jumoke. But I think I would go for A because this is a key stakeholder, and using the elimination techniques, you would not avoiding involving the stakeholder. That is against the principle of PMP or PMI. Then communicate via status reports only is also not adequate. Update the stakeholder engagement plan. this is a process, to in terms of the documentation process. Of course, you must have done this, but while you are at this, it's important that this stakeholder, this issue is addressed, and because it's a key stakeholder, you might want to escalate to the sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's read the question again. A key stakeholder is resistant to the project approach. What should the project manager do? When you are appointed as the project manager, one of the things that you have access to is the project charter. And the project charter would, of course, have some key stakeholders. And that becomes the basis of you building your stakeholders. When it comes to project approach, the project manager determines that, often based on certain information, based on the nature of the stakeholders, based on how they want the cadence of value they want, if they want single cadence or they want multiple cadence, based on the nature of the project itself. That is why lesson 2 starts with identify stakeholders, form team, build shared understanding, and now determine the approach. So you have identify your stakeholders, you've analyzed them, you have a key stakeholder that is saying, no, I don't want this approach. How did you even determine how you'll be communicating with the stakeholder? It's from the stakeholder register. And the stakeholder register, from there, you will build your stakeholder engagement plan. And from the stakeholder register, you will build your communication management plan. Because that is what will inform you how you will relate. Engagement is how you will relate. And relating with your stakeholders involve communication. What are you communicating with them? It all have to do about the project. Updates, deliverables, requests for money, it's all communication. So before you escalate to the sponsor, please, I'm having some feedback. If you could mute your mics, please. If before you escalate to the sponsor, it has to be specified that it is out of your control. Don't get swayed by this key stakeholder because they are all part of the stakeholders you are managing. You have to have managed and say that no, it's not. It's not. The manager is not managing before you escalate. Escalation should not be the first thing for you to do. Then C, avoid involving the stakeholder. This is like you are irritating me. I don't even have time for you. If you remember change management in the sessions you had, he says you should not alienate. Is the feedback coming from me? You should not alienate the resistor to change. You should not say, I know you are not for me, move back. No, you are not supposed to do that. So you are not supposed to avoid involving the stakeholder. You still carry the stakeholder along. This is where your ability to manage communication, manage your stakeholders becomes key. And this is where emotional intelligence and power skills become important. So C is wrong. A is also not so. Communicate via status reports only. No, now you need feedback as you go along. So D is also wrong. So when you update, I understand the lady who spoke, forgive me, I didn't catch your name. Update the stakeholder engagement plan. It is not like you will now start from beginning. write the name, start and stop everything. But now you know that probably you need to improve on the communication, because there is the engagement plan that depicts how you are going to communicate to the person. How did you get to the point that this stakeholder is resisting the approach? Was the stakeholder not involved, informed of the decision? So the best option here is B, respectfully MEMS and says. Question 2. During a project meeting, 2 stakeholders argue over conflicting requirements. What is the best response? A, cancel the meeting. B, choose the most senior stakeholder's request. C, facilitate a solution that aligns with the business goals. D, escalate the issue to the PM. Oh, yeah. Nelson, have they dropped their answers?
Yes, mostly C's. I haven't seen anything other than C. Someone is saying this is too easy.
All right, so let's go. AC, let me clap for you. Good job. Question 3. A stakeholder's influence has increased. What should the PM do? A, remove other stakeholders with lower influence. B, re-clarify them in the engagement matrix. C, ignore the change. D, assign them to a low priority group. Like last year, 2024, if be answering the question, we had election 2024. So 2024, I'm a consultant, my project is ongoing. Then 2025, this new government came in and they decided to make me MD of a company. If I was the least in the stakeholder register, will I remain least now that I'm MD? Nelson, what are the answers? What are the options?
Mostly B's, but there's one C.
Okay, let's hear from that C why we should ignore the change. That's deep.
Someone is saying, I wish this is how the exam will be.
Sorry?
Someone says that they wish this is how the exam would be. Afua, you did mention C. Feel free to lift your hand and I will just raise your hand. I will be able to unmute you. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, so sorry. Actually, the C was for question 2, right? And I think my network delayed. And then, so if you see in the chat, I've answered question 3 later here, which is B.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me clap for you again. You see how ready you are to write the exam. Question 4. The sponsor asks you to fast track delivery. What's your first step? A, crash the schedule. B, identify and prioritize high value features. C, ask team to work overtime. D, skip documentation. After all, it's value you want to create. What do you think the answer will be?
So we're getting more B's and a few A's.
Okay. So can we get one each? Someone who said crash and then someone who says identify.
Okay. Yeah. More A's are coming in now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, I'll give you. Afo, you can unmute yourself. Afo. All right, Farida.
Okay, thank you so much. To me, when I see fast tracking in a project, that means, for example, implementing two activities in a parallel way to make sure that you meet the schedule or the deadline for a project. And option A says crash the schedule. And when you're crashing the schedule, it means you increase resources so that you can have activities done in a faster way to meet the schedule, which is the opposite or which is not the case in the question. Then when they talk about identifying and prioritizing high value features, it means you can identify and know we want A, B, C, D features. What can we do alongside these features that we have identified? For example, we can say when we shall be doing, let's say maybe leveling, we can do it with the clearing. When we are doing, let's say, activity A and B, we can also do C. So to me, I felt like B was the best answer. Then ask team to work overtime, that is ant people. And in project management, we're supposed to be pro people. We are not supposed to overwork our team. Skip documentation. Documentation is always important in project planning, sorry, in project management. So I think B makes it better.
No,
It's the
I'm
best.
getting it wrong. Is your answer B or A?
B.
B. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you. We need
Can we
someone who chose A.
Yeah. We have someone else here. Let's see if they chose A. Go ahead, Udeme.
Sorry, I didn't choose A. I chose B. It's fine. I didn't choose A.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All
Anyone
right.
with A?
Where are the A team?
Shakila.
Hi.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. To be entirely honest, I was for both A and B. Unfortunately, I couldn't choose them both. But when I read the question, I understood it in its literal sense, which is fast tracking delivery, as opposed to the PMP terminology fast tracking, which is working on two activities simultaneously. That way you can get a quicker turnaround time. So when I read it literally, and then the first option was crash the schedule, crashing is one of the ways in which you can shorten the project duration and deliver quicker turnaround. That's why A seemed viable choices at that time. But now that I see so many Bs, I want to run away and go back to B. But yeah, that was my line of thought.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. But you remember that in fact, one of the ways that when you read questions, try not to use your experience or you end up adding reason to the question. Like you now develop another thing. Fast track means deliver this thing faster than you are doing it. That is what it means. Now, you can still do your whatever you are doing in sequential order, but you need to understand like prioritization. So now that you want us to deliver this quickly, remember that your focus as a project manager is to deliver value early and continuously. Okay? So crashing is out of it. It exposes your project to risk. All right? Ask team to work overtime. That's also a way of trying to increase their productivity, but it can lead to rework or scrap, which will introduce additional costs, would end up demotivating or demoralizing your team member. Of course, documentation is out of it. If somebody came to you and you have work to do, you have agreed on a timeline, and the person says fast track, and he has not given you any additional information, you can only even crash the program or fast track in the understanding that you have of PMP if you have additional resources. So you need to just identify and prioritize the high value features and deliver them first. Deliver them first. Like I said, if I'm hungry, if I need to take my bath, if I need to watch a movie, if I'm hungry, how do I watch movie? I first eat. So you ask me, so these three things you want, which one should it come? They say, I need an it's okay, Jumoke. So you say you want to eat, you want to do this. So which one should come first? I want food first, followed by me taking my bath. I see a hand. Is it to this question? Or I should continue for the 9 questions, then you ask me your question later, because I can see we have 31 minutes left.
No, just continue.
Okay. So the answer is B, please. 5. A PM wants to accelerate value delivery in a hybrid project. What should they do? A, Monte Carlo simulation. B, minimum viable product and short iterations. C, full documentation upfront. D, fixed phase gates. How will a project manager want accelerate value delivery in a hybrid project? It's interesting. This one, if you all don't get it, I will not be happy at all.
You know, Jumoke, at times people find safety in numbers. When they see everyone putting A, they also just say A as well.
Do you know what I do? I close the chat. So you are dropping yours, you don't see what others are dropping. Then few seconds I make it visible. Okay.
Yeah. So now all the answers are B.
They are B.
Yes.
Let me clap for you. Now I'm happy. Next question. A client asks for early delivery of a model. Let me also tell you something. I was teaching a class of 20. I asked a question. All 19 gave one answer. Then I heard a very soft voice gave a different answer. Then I have a way of saying, are you sure? Like to all of them. And then she changed the answer to join the 19. And the 19 people were wrong. And she was right. So if you are convinced, please drop your answer irrespective of what majority drop, okay? A client asks for early delivery of a model. What is the best approach? A, stick to the baseline. B, deliver it as soon as possible, ignoring other tasks. C, evaluate feasibility, impact, and benefits. D, wait until all models are ready.
Getting C's as the answers here.
No one chose any answer.
So far only C's, no different answers.
Okay. Seventh question. A stakeholder complains about lack of information. What's the project manager's best response? A. Refer them to the project website. B. Update the communication management plan. C. Ask them to wait for the next meeting. D. Send them a daily report.
We're getting B's only so far.
And nobody wants to refer them to project website. Go and read it there. Okay, so that's also correct. What's the proportion of people answering? Is it up to like 30, 40, or just handful?
No, actually a very good number. More than 30.
Good. Oh, nice. So question 8. What is the best tool to ensure consistent communication across the team? Issue log, risk register, work breakdown structure, communication matrix.
Getting D's only.
Okay, that's good. Then the last but not the least, an executive prefers dashboard over reports. What should the PM do? Tailor communication method to the stakeholder, provide weekly emails, continue with report for consistency, train the executive on standard reports.
First answer is a D.
Sorry?
There's D and then there's B. Then there's A.
How many people chose D?
So many. This is very interesting.
And what's the proportion of people who chose? Did anybody choose C?
I'm just checking the chat. More are still coming in. More D's. There's one person who was chosen C. Yeah, so I think we need to hear from everyone here. This is very interesting.
Yeah. Oh, well, please handle that for me.
Okay, there's several A's that have come in, and then there's I really want to give a hint, but I will not. So I'll just raise your hand if you any of the questions. So let's start with A. Anyone who did, or let me start with D. Anyone who did say D. If you say D, please. Okay. Adam. Adam, go ahead. You can unmute.
Hello. Yes. So I selected D. I think that when you look at the other options, it would it's not going to be.
I can't hear Adam.
Sorry. Yes. I think the Third option would be to train the executive on the standard reports.
Okay. All right. Shakila?
I also chose D, same as Adam.
Okay. All right then. Anyone that chose B? I'm hoping that if you're raising your hand, your answer is B. Okay. Patience? Mavis, Patience, you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So I started by answering D, and then when I looked at it, I said A is the correct answer. So I have two answers there. I thought maybe communicating with the stakeholders will make them understand the report. So I changed it to A. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone with B? Okay. I did see a C in the chat. Anyone that did C, please raise your hand. Okay. Finally, A. Can you get just one person to? Okay. Edward, go ahead.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So my answer is tailor communication method to the stakeholder. So when running a project and you're dealing with different stakeholders, you have to meet the stakeholders at their different levels, as has been discussed. So that is why communication needs to be tailored towards the method that best fits the stakeholders, which will change from stakeholders, group of stakeholders to another. So that's why I choose the answer A.
Right. Thank you. One more, Felix, and then we'll go to Felix. You can unmute.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I agree with my colleague who just commented. For me, I'm just trying to buttress the point why A seems to be valid, because at the end of the day, the communication is to help the stakeholders at all levels to understand what is going on in the project. So, but D is not correct because it's actually not the job of the project manager. I don't think we have that much time to start training executive on the standard reporting procedure. Then C, I didn't choose that because it is needless to continue on the way you are communicating when it is not effective. So there's no need to continue with reports, even though it's consistent. It is needless because it's not getting through. And providing weekly emails also is not an option here because that's not the problem which is stated. The problem is how to over either getting a dashboard report, a dashboard, or a report system. So I think tailoring the means of communication to the stakeholders' need is the best option, which is A.
Right. Jamot.
Thank you very much for your feedback. Let me also try to tell you some of the things you need to avoid when reading questions. Avoid unconsciously slipping into how you manage things in your organizations, because that's not the standard. Avoid, this is what I believe. That's not the standard. So always look out for PMI's perspective. Just today, I was talking to someone and I was explaining, distinguishing the task of project manager and business analyst. And the person said, but I feel we should just include this in the for the project manager. I said, no problem. But when you are teaching it, you need to let the person know that these are parts of the roles of business analyst and not project manager. Having said that, Like the last person said, it's not your business to train the executive on standard reports. The person is an executive person. You are the one that want to train the person. No. Continue with reports for consistency. What consistency? In fact, your choice and approach of reporting is directly proportional to the preference of this stakeholder, because it's an executive, maybe part of the sponsors, you know. So when you had your stakeholder identification and you engage with this person, you should have checked with the person, what's your preferred approach of communication? And the person tells you. It's a different thing if the person's preferred option, you don't have the capability to deliver that, and you ask for support, or you tell if the support is not available that I can't do that. But you cannot just say you are training, or you continue with the report, or you just provide weekly emails. No, the right answer is you will tailor the communication for the stakeholder, because that's why you are there. You satisfy your stakeholders. So A is the answer. Let me clap for those who chose A. And even the one who wanted D, but was influenced to choose A. If it was PMP, you would have gotten it right. So you two are among the recipients. So on this note, I'm happy that I've come to the end of today's session. I am now open to receive your questions.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jumoke. I just asked a question on the chat and I was saying, would you train a CEO? The executive is a CEO. Would you train them on standard reports, or you would tailor to what they prefer? That's where the answer would be. So we do have several questions, and I think Anthony wanted to provide a different perspective as well. So Anthony, you go first. You can unmute. Anthony, you can unmute. All right. Maurice?
Thanks. Hope I'm audible. So my contribution, I just wanted to add something on the previous question. That's question 9. So looking at the responses, you'll see that the option A also has 2 school of thoughts into PM management, project management, that is communication and stakeholder influence. Looking at the other responses, you see that they only deal with communication. I think that also could be a way of looking at how to respond to these answers. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Theodore, you can unmute now.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah, so my question actually comes from the very first question we saw, the question 1. So there was a possible answer for escalating to the sponsor. So I want to find out, at what point do you escalate to the sponsor?
It depends on how the question is structured, but usually there should have been something that shows that you have done what you were supposed to have done before you escalate. Your first attempt could be escalation, provided the question specify that is out of maybe your authority, maybe out of the budget or something. It specifies that way, then you would escalate. But if it doesn't, you cannot escalate. You have to do something first. Do something here means that you have to be proactive in solving problems. That's why you're a project manager. You solve problems.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not,
So
it's
are
not
there any
what you want to
specific?
hear.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes. So are there any specific issues that can come up that it has to go to the sponsor straight away? It has, the project is beyond the project manager Like for example, maybe a scope related issue. Just an example, yeah.
So usually when we say project objectives, often we are referring to cost, time, risk, and quality. But you also need to know your limit once you are planning. You know that, okay, if the cost is up to this point, I can work with it with my team. But if it is above, I would escalate it. And this is who it will be escalated to. I don't want you to memorize it like a formula, like, okay, if it is this, then we will escalate. No. I want you to see it. But usually when we say something would affect project objectives, these are the first four that comes to mind. I want you to see yourself as a problem solver. That's why you are there. So you are solving problem. And people, it's like delegation. Some people hide behind delegation because they don't want to work. They delegate and they go and sleep. When you ask them for update, that's when they now go and follow up on delegation. But if you have delegated, you should have also included reporting time, so that you also receive report, look at it for onward submission to your superior. So some people hide behind that escalation, but when you are planning, it's part of what you plan. At what point will I and my team escalate, and to who would escalation be made? It will be clear. So if you are reading a question and there is nothing said about you, you have exhausted what you are supposed to do, or is out of your limits, escalation shouldn't be the first thing to come.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
We'll go to Nelson.
Okay, Nelson is calling Nelson.
You can unmute, Nelson.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. My deepest gratitude to Miss Jomok for the great session. And I'm looking forward to meet you in August in Rwanda. Yeah. Yes. Going forward, my question is about stakeholders' expectation. Yeah, as the project evolves, different stakeholders have different expectations. So as a project manager, what strategies or tactics can I use to manage the stakeholders' expectations?
Please come again.
So I'm saying, as the project evolves or progresses, different stakeholders have different expectations from the project. So as a project manager, how can I manage the stakeholders' expectations? What strategies or what tactics can I use to manage their expectations?
When you say their expectations here, my understanding is their requirements.
Okay.
I'm telling you my understanding. Am I right?
Yes, their requirement, what they need in the project.
Okay, so you will use prioritization. So when you start the project, we said that you should set clear expectations early. So you engage your stakeholders. If it is predictive, you engage in eliciting requirements, and then the requirements, you work with them again to agree on the ones that can be done. And then you prioritize them. Remember your prioritization technique, the must have, should have, could have, and then Kanu, and so you would have it. And then you will also engage with them on communication. And that's where you have your communication management plan. Of course, you'll be reviewing it as you go along. That is how I know stakeholders will be handled for predictive. For adaptive, the product owner, you are the scrum master or the team lead. Your job is not to lead anybody like the project manager in predictive will do. You just ensure that there is an environment that encourages adaptive approach, and then you remove impediments from the ways of your team members. You also facilitate the ceremonies, the daily stand-up review meetings and all that. But when it comes to maybe their expectations, the customer's expectations, the product owner handles that. And that is also captured in the product backlog. As you have the project manager eliciting requirements, why is the project manager collecting requirements from the stakeholders? It's to help him plan scope. And once the scope is planned, you will get into work breakdown structure, disintegrating it, and then the work packages further broken down into activities, and then estimating time and costs, possibly identifying some risk, defining quality and all that. So defining scope or planning scope is key. And for you to be able to do that very well in predictive, you need the input of the stakeholders. And if you did it well, you would have gotten what they want, their expectations, and factor it into this the WBS. It will also inform you how you are going to come up with your network diagram, come up with your critical path and all that. For adaptive, the product owner works with the customer to do that. The customer comes up in forms of epic or user stories or features, and then it's arranged in the product backlog. Excuse me, the product owner works with the customer. That now all the things you have said, excuse me, all the
Yes,
things you have
please.
said, we can't develop everything.
Yes, yes.
Let's prioritize it.
Yeah, yes, I think you have answered it. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Farida?
Thank you so much. In regard to the same question my brother raised before, Madam, there is a point where you find they tell you that, for example, if the stakeholder is not interested and not active, you monitor closely. And if the stakeholder is let's say, influential and maybe powerful, I've forgotten, but maybe you satisfy them, keep them satisfied, keep them informed, something like that. How is that different from what I've just heard?
Please, what did you just hear?
I said, I'm asking, somewhere where I was reading, I came across a point where you find like on managing stakeholders or engaging stakeholder, there are stakeholders that you're supposed to keep satisfied, keep stakeholders that are supposed to maybe be monitored closely, stakeholders that are supposed to be, I'm forgetting the other components.
Are you talking of the grid?
Yes.
Are you talking of the influence impact grid?
Yes.
So what's your question on that again, please?
My question is, what if, like the way Nelson asked, that how do we manage stakeholder expectations? What if we manage the stakeholders' expectation using the grid? Do you think it can work in a real project environment. For example, if I notice that one of the project, let's say the beneficiary, one of the beneficiaries is so much interested in the project, but is not that powerful. So can I manage, like, use the power influence grid to see how I can manage such a stakeholder, or I just have to keep watching or monitoring and responding to their concerns frequently? I don't know if
First, you answered your question, because how did you know that the stakeholder has low power? Whatever you use in determining that level is what kept the stakeholder here, because you cannot satisfy every need. And like I said, you are here, the cost of you attending this session now is where you should have been that you were not. So that's a price you are paying. So the same way, all your stakeholders, it's like your kids. Mommy, buy a helicopter. I want aeroplane. I want this. You cannot buy it. But you don't tell your kids, I cannot buy it. So you come and sit down, you do I have money? You say, oh, pray for mommy, pray for daddy in future. Like some optimistic. That's how you also handle your. I'm not saying you should lie to your stakeholders, but you cannot just say, no, this cannot be done. You have to manage them via communication. So let's assume you have a stakeholder here and keep satisfied. You had another one here, manage closely. You have another one here, keep informed. You have another one here, monitor. And they all have specifications. But you can only do 3 out of 4. Which one won't you do? Anyone can answer this question. First of all, is my question clear?
Repeat the question, please.
The question is, you have analyzed your stakeholders and you have put them in these groupings that, okay, A and B, they belong to this quadrant, keep satisfied. C and D belong to this quadrant, manage closely. E and F belong to this quadrant. These stakeholders will keep them informed. GH belongs to this quadrant. We keep them monitored. But as you were engaging them, the stakeholders in Keep Satisfied, they have some specifications or needs. Let's say need 1. The ones here, manage closely, they also have 1 need. Keep informed, 1 need. Keep monitored, 1 need. But the project can deliver only 3. Which of them would you deliver? Or won't you deliver? Because you can't deliver all 4.
That's fine.
Listen, please help if they are raising their hand.
I will skip the keep informed because that's the least priority. The keep satisfied being the highest priority.
So you will do that. You can do 3 out of the 4.
I will do keep satisfied, manage
1,
closely, and
2.
monitor. I will skip the keep informed.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, no. I will skip the monitor. I will do keep satisfied, manage closely, and keep informed. I will skip the monitor because it is low.
Okay. So what you just did now is prioritizing the requirements. This David wants to talk. I've been seeing his hand on Nelson.
No, so I just spoke.
Okay, so that's David.
He just spoke. Yeah, he just spoke.
Okay. So what David did is was influenced by the categorization of the stakeholders. We couldn't have ignored keep informed and meet what monitor group said, over keep monitored or over manage closely, over keep satisfied. But that is so easy. But the best way is to use the prioritization. You list all, and then the stakeholders themselves would prioritize what they want, and that will be done. And if for some reason, maybe when we brought all those things together, but you cannot be asking a sponsor that we are okay, sponsor, we are the sponsor, but let's ask other stakeholders whether they are in agreement. If the sponsor doesn't give the money, that's the end of the project. So if the sponsor's request will likely be here and you'll be managing it. But this table is actually for you to, in terms of communication, engaging stakeholders, and this is showing you the power as it goes higher, is showing you the influence the stakeholder has on the project objective. Someone that is at this level can say, okay, this project, we are not going to give you this money anymore, or we are reducing the budgets, or we don't have the 3 months anymore, it's going to be 2 months. It shows the influence this person can have on the project objectives or even the outcome. Okay. And the interest too is like that. As it goes from this point is 0, as it goes, it increases. So I hope that answers your question. I can't tell you that if it gets to this point, that is when you escalate. But one of the ways to also prepare for the exam is simulator. Now, any exam I want to write, I even start with simulator before I do the course. And so as I'm doing the course, I'm saying, okay, this was the question. When I try the first simulator, I'm not attempting it to pass. I'm attempting it to check my strength before I start the course. So if you have done the course, get simulator. And thankfully, PMI has one. Invest. I see people come to me, Jumi, do you have any question you can spare? I don't understand. You have paid for the training. You are spending time. Just spend extra. Get a good simulator and practice. Don't memorize. Practice and spend time on the justification. In fact, for me, the justification is when I make notes. You should see my work table when I'm in my bed, when I'm preparing for exam. I saturate myself. I go to washroom, I have something on the course with me. I'm in the kitchen, I have something on the course with me. I'm driving, I have something on the course with me. There's a traffic light red, I quickly pick, I flip. Like everything around me in the period I'm writing exam is about that program. Constantly. You cannot just, I don't know how many times we have this evening session in a week, and that is the only time you are doing anything about the PMP. No, you are there. If you spend 30 minutes on break, spend 20 minutes, spend 10 minutes on it. Some people say, oh, my children, I don't have time. I said, it's okay. How many times do you sleep? How many hours do you sleep? They say, oh, 7 hours. It's okay. For the next 2 weeks, sleep 5 hours. Invest 1 hour of studying. Drop watching UEFA matches. Stop watching telenovela just for 2 months. Just invest that. And after that, you can watch everything you want to. So you cannot maintain how you are living your life. This is a gold standard certification. It will not come cheap. That's the truth of the matter. It's the globally leading certification, which you can use anywhere in the world. So you should expect that you would have to invest some work, let me change some work, more work, an extensive work. Because some of us, we need to unlearn our ways of managing projects in our organization. Is not right. But that is all we've known for years. So if you don't use simulator, you would not even know your beliefs. your default setting towards some approaches. Get good simulator. Don't just something that somebody just put together somewhere. Use PMI, That is my parting words.
Okay, sorry,
With
madam. Can I just try to understand what you just said?
Nelson, do we have more time?
Yeah,
No,
just one
actually,
quick one.
Okay.
So in the question about the prioritization, 4 tasks, but we can only do 3. And I did the prioritization based on the quadrants of the stakeholder. Is the answer that the sponsor or stakeholder should determine which ones to do, or we cannot prioritize it as a project manager?
It will be prioritized. It will be one of the prioritized things that need to be done. If I'm the one sponsoring the project and you are maybe a contractor or a vendor, and you have the project manager, and I've made a request, and the vendor too has made requests, and you, the project manager, say, okay, I need to meet the other stakeholders to make decision on what needs to be done. That was the example I gave. It's quite, you see, I was saying we should not use the quadrant. I don't want you to quote me and say, SSA brought Jumoke and Jumoke said this is how it specifications or values should be picked or prioritized. I was trying to paint different scenarios. That in a scenario where, because I've seen questions where they will say the sponsor or the main key stakeholder or a key stakeholder say something, and then there will be options. Go and meet other stakeholders and check what others are saying. The person is practically the customer, the main customer of the project. Who are you checking it with? It's like the president of Ghana having projects, and then there are some ministers as part of the development team. And the president calls you, the project manager, and said, I want this. Then you say, oh, Mr. President, you know what? Let me go and check with the other stakeholders whether they are in agreement with what you just said. Respectfully, would that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Welcome. I know Nelson likes keeping to time, and we've already.
Yes, we past time by 8. I just want to be very respectful of people's time and also yours as well, Jumoke. And I know we have a few hands up, but I will ask Jumoke if you can share that QR code again so that the candidates can reach out to you directly if there's any questions that they have. But for today, I just want to say a huge thank you to Jumoke again for just delivering a very great session again, going through the questions and really taking your time to explain the answers and guiding the candidates. Like we've said, we can't say this so much. I mean, go ahead and schedule your exam, book a date, put it on the calendar, and then start working towards that date. Don't use these webinars as the only way to prepare for the exams. There's a WhatsApp group. Join the WhatsApp group. A lot of questions are posted there, and there's discussions there. We do this every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Get a simulator. We mostly recommend PMI study hall. However, there's other simulators out there that you can pick as well. But like Jumoke has said, be very careful with the simulator that you're going to pick so that you don't end up wasting your resources. Otherwise, you can just defer and take the PMI study hall. So thanks to all the candidates showing up here today. It's important. I must commend you for that. We will share this recording hopefully tomorrow, and then we look forward to seeing you on Thursday again for another session. So thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Oh dear. How do I join the WhatsApp group?
I will share the WhatsApp group link here on the chat. We'll just do that now so that anyone who hasn't joined can join. We have 2 WhatsApp groups, so any of them that you join is still okay.
The link.
Yeah, I'm posting the link on the chat to join the WhatsApp group.
Using my computer. Oh, okay. You post.
So the link is in the chat. If you click on that link, you'll be able to join the group.
Waiting.
The link is in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Good evening, everyone. We will see you again on Thursday.
Wait.